engineers would remove soil from under the north side of the tower. The remaining soil would start to compress to fill in the gaps, and the north side would literally settle down.
We looked at least 12 different methods of doing it, but the more we looked at it, the more we felt that we had to get gravity to work for us. Most of the solutions had been try to lift the low side, do something to support the south side. But in doing that, the ground is so soft you would disturb it and probably the tower would fall over. And so this solution developed that maybe we could cause the north side of the ground to subside in some way, and the tower would follow that. Gravity would cause the tower to rotate northwards.
If the project succeeded, the tower's lean would be reduced by half a degree, or 16 inches. Visually, the change would be imperceptible.
That means that for American and Japanese tourists, this will make practically no difference.
The local Pisans greeted the new plan with skepticism.
They've required a lot of time to find a way that could ensure security and stability to the work, that won't present any problems, because the tower could go down very fast. One mistake is enough. And when the tower comes down, who's going to stop it?
Soil extraction is a relatively rare technique, but far from new. As early as the 1800s, it had been used to diminish the lean on St. Chad's Tower in England. More recently, it had been used successfully on the Metropolitan Cathedral in Mexico City. But remarkably, the technique had been recommended for the Tower of Pisa in 1962, when Fernando Terracina, an Italian architect, had submitted the idea.
What has the committee done in the end? After spending 10 years and $25 million, what does it do? It accepts a project by Fernando Terracina, a project of under-excavation from the 1960s.
Terracina's suggestion was easy to miss. It was buried in a technical report 3 decades old. What further astonished critics was that the idea had been suggested again in 1990 by Vittorio Novelli and Nazarino Pacaloni, surveyors from Cesena, Italy.
Ci hanno riferito che era un procedimento troppo violento.
They told us it was a process that was too violent and impossible to carry out. I kept in contact with the president of the committee, who very cordially told me that he was trying to find a unanimous decision on the choice of an intervention and that our project wasn't taken into consideration. Yet, in the end, the committee adopted an operation with many similarities to ours. In fact, we were a little bit astonished after such a long time, 9 years.
With so much at stake, and with the eyes of the world upon the current team of engineers, everyone's nerves became strained.
It's been incredibly tense. You can imagine you don't rush into a tower that's on the point of falling over and start digging furiously.
This risk is huge because the tower could feel unstable from one moment to the next, since it has been in this position for so many centuries. We are all now in the hands of these people, waiting.
It just seems to me it's Keystone Cops. And the fact that they had 5 different operational plans in 10 years shows that they're not very secure about what they're doing.
The committee believed in its plan, but just in case the tower moved the wrong way, it proposed wrapping 2 steel cables around the tower's 3rd level. The cables were to be anchored into the ground 100 yards away. If catastrophe struck during the soil extraction, the cables could be tensioned to hold the tower in place.
There was never any intention that we would use the cables to pull the tower back. I think there was one newspaper article which said that they are going to irresponsibly drag the tower back by the cables. That was never the intention. They're simply there to gently hold the tower if it began to move. The cables would, in that event, be tensioned by lead weights, so the load on them would be constant.
Work began in December 1998. Putting the cables in position was a major and perilous task. Each cable was 340 feet long and 2 inches thick. They were enormously heavy. Just 10 yards of cable weighed a half a ton.
We felt that it was necessary to have those there, just so that if something went wrong, we could hold the tower and find out what was happening and correct it. So they're simply a safeguard, and the contractor calls them his parachute.
With parachute in place, the way was clear to start extracting the soil. On the 10th of February, 1999, engineers recorded the start of the process. First, 12 pipes were placed approximately 4 yards from the edge of the tower. Then, with a kind of mechanical corkscrew, the ground was removed very gradually from beneath the bell tower. At the end of 5 months, the results were in. The tower had moved over half an inch north. For the committee, the victory couldn't have been sweeter. Finally, after 10 years, they had found a method to stabilize the tower.
The response has been beyond our wildest expectations. It's been very positive. We've moved the top of the tower northwards just by drilling a few holes, far fewer than we're going to use with the full intervention. So at present, it's looking good, but you don't raise the flag when you've taken the first step up Everest. So we have to be very, very careful. We've got a very, very long way to go still.
As it turned out, they had even longer to go than they thought. Just as they began making progress, the money ran out.
It's a paradox that at the exact